What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so I'm gonna do something a little bit different before we get into the news. I had this video come across my feed, and I just wanted to kind of go over it and commentate over this thing just a little bit. So let's go ahead and roll that clip right quick. This is so fascinating. I'll check this out.
Well, here we are. It's Friday, and we are just literally minutes away from the border to Canada as we flee the U.S. Who would have thought at age 60 that this would be our day and our plan and our actions? And I know fleeing sounds dramatic and like something from a movie, but it's really true. We just feel so scrutinized and so silenced and so being portrayed as enemies within and being portrayed as domestic terrorists because we're standing up for what we believe in this country and what we believe is being violated and is going into an authoritarian regime, and is in it actually, and has been since he hit the ground running in January, the day he was inaugurated.
So let me get this straight, my dude. All of a sudden, right? All of a sudden, on January 20th, as soon as Donald Trump got inaugurated, the constitutional barriers just shattered. Like everything about the Constitution broke. And now we're all of a sudden in this authoritarian regime, and you are being hunted down and targeted for what you believe in. Well, what are your values, as a matter of fact? Because if your values consist of political violence, things like that, things of that nature, engaging in open borders, those things, then yes, we're not going to go after you unless you break a law. And this can be proven by what exactly Donald Trump is doing. This is so fascinating, and there's a lot more to come, folks, and I don't want to tie myself up with this, so let's keep going.
It's really frightening, and it's really unsettling, and there's just no peace in that the folks that follow him and voted for him are just being barraged with this indoctrination by this cult of personality to believe through just repeated messaging that Democrats are the enemy within, his words, that all Democrats across the board are domestic terrorists, again, his words, that this straw man that they're building with Antifa to give them something to be outraged about, that they feel they need to take up some sort of vigilantism to seek out and seek retribution on their own. It's just whipping up this frenzy of hatred, just like 80 years ago in Germany in the 40s, when the authoritarian regime there and their leader were messaging out the same things about how races within their country were the enemy within, were animals, were rats that needed to be exterminated. Just like this guy said a few weeks ago that Democrats were just a bug on our shoulder that just needs to be squashed and swatted away. There's so many parallels in history that are being seen all over again.
Okay, so I think this guy's conflating all kinds of different things. What in the F is this guy even talking about? Okay, so Donald Trump is going after criminal aliens, people that are not supposed to be in the country. And he's trying to compare this to Jewish people that were actually German citizens. This is the comparison, folks. This is the delusion. And he says we're in a cult. We are in a cult. Are you serious, dude? Do you actually know what's going on in reality? Like, people enter our country illegally. That violates our laws. And by the way, you know, there is no endless barrage of propaganda, if you will. He didn't call it that. He called it something else. But we'll say propaganda, this stuff that's coming out. No, folks, you guys, the people that watch this channel, you know exactly what I do, right? We go through facts and we read the news. We get reality brought to us on a silver platter. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about. A lot of these people, this guy clearly does not give a damn about reality. He only listens to the authority figure, the corporate press or whatever that may be, that's telling him that Donald Trump is Hitler, Donald Trump is a fascist, Donald Trump has shattered the constitutional guardrails in this country and has just broken every norm. Like, have you even looked into any of these issues that they're telling you? Like, these people don't do the research. Why? Because these are just normal people. These are average, everyday folks, right? And then he starts talking about Antifa, like Antifa. So do you not understand what Antifa is and what Antifa does? Do you not understand that Donald Trump is not going to label these people? And if you are not part of Antifa, you have nothing to worry about. Donald Trump is not going after run-of-the-mill Democrats. He's going after criminals. So if you haven't broken the law, you have nothing to worry about. See, this has been a problem in this country. People don't want to go after criminals. They just want to let these criminals go. But he's conflating all kinds of different things. He's talking about the rats must be exterminated. Like, where are you getting this language from? Because, you know, a commentator on TV can just say anything that they want to. Doesn't have to be true. And people will interpret that however the hell they want to. And this guy seems to interpret or has listened to some form of language where Donald Trump was talking about exterminating people. Like, what? Okay. I think he's just being fed a bunch of BS because, once again, I'm deep into politics. I'm constantly reading the news. If Donald Trump would have said something about exterminating Democrats, all Democrats are the enemy within. No, when he talks about the enemy within, he's talking about violent criminals. He's talking about these deep state shills that undermine presidencies, that undermine constitutional norms, that undermine civility in this country. People like James Comey. Yeah, we'll just go with that one. He lied to Congress. He orchestrated a seditious conspiracy. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard come out and said that Obama was treasonous, folks. I imagine she did not use those words lightly. Treasonous. That is right, folks. And we saw the evidence. I think it's a bit too far, a little bit hyperbolic, to be honest with you, because, you know, the Steele dossier and undermining Donald Trump's whole administration, his first presidency that led to the impeachments, that, you know, has a lot to do with Russia and Ukraine and all this other nonsense. It's all BS. It's all bogus. All of it was bogus. It was all fabricated by us, by our FBI and our intelligence agencies. Yeah, going after those people who orchestrated a whole load of nonsense, to put it bluntly. Yeah, I don't know about that, folks. But enough of that guy right there. He's just fleeing the country. And, you know, what I found fascinating about that clip right there is, you know, if this guy loves America so much, right, he's going to Canada. Yeah, that's not a good choice, buddy. You're not going to have your freedom of speech over there, that's for sure. But did you notice the upside-down American flag? Anybody that loves this country, I'm sorry, they're not going to type fleeing America and have the upside-down American flag. Like, are you kidding me with that? That guy doesn't like this country, y'all. These people are insane, and they're just delusional people. That's all I can say about that. They're just outright delusional. But let's get into some news. We're talking government shutdown, and it's kind of a short story, but you know, I wanted to talk about the government shutdown, and there wasn't really much other news, so that's another reason why I put that little clip in there. I just wanted to kind of show you guys how Looney Tunes some of these people are. They're like, oh, I'm fleeing the country, because Donald Trump is actually resorting the country back to what it used to be when it was great. Government shutdown could lead to $14 billion in lost GDP, CBO report says. Yep, that's going to happen, folks. When the government is shut down, the government spends a lot of money. It spends a whole hell of a lot of money, folks. Not only in just, you know, buying supplies and other things like that, but government contracts to private corporations, folks. The government is always, like there's always construction work going on somewhere on one of the military bases. You know, the military spends a whole hell of a lot of money. So there's a lot of money that's not going to be coming in during the government shutdown if it continues. That's the important part, folks. You got to remember, if it continues. The ongoing federal shutdown could cost the U.S. economy between $7 billion and $14 billion, according to a new report from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. You always notice they have to put that in there. Oh, it's nonpartisan. I'm sorry, there's nothing in Washington, D.C. that is nonpartisan. Nothing at all. So you can tell me that the CBO is nonpartisan all you want, but I will never believe you because they are very partisan. The report, prepared in response to a request from House Budget Chair Joey Arrington, estimated the economic impact of the shutdown if it lasts 4 weeks. A mark hit Wednesday, 6 weeks or 2 months. Under all three scenarios, the CBO expects economic growth to be back on track after 2026, but some of the real gross domestic product loss resulting from furloughs of federal workers will not be recovered at all. That's permanent, folks. That permanent loss could be anywhere from $7 billion if the shutdown were to end now, and $14 billion if it were to drag out for an additional month. I really don't foresee it dragging out for another 30 days, for goodness sakes, because you know, I saw another news article where John Thune is actually preparing to go to Democrats to try to force them into voting for what we've got. I don't know what all that entails because, you know, the news article did not expound upon what John Thune is actually going to discuss. But I really hope that Republicans do not capitulate to these unreasonable demands by Democrats, because Democrats right now, they don't have anything. They absolutely don't. Look, they are the reason that, you know, SNAP benefits are getting cut off on November 1st. They absolutely are the reason for that. Now they're trying to sue the administration, as we covered yesterday, sue the Trump administration for contingency funds for the agency itself, right? That's for emergency purposes, which you could call this an emergency, maybe, right? But once again, from the response that we've seen from a lot of people online, right, how do we delineate between the people that actually need the benefits and these wackaloons that are threatening to go and rob grocery stores because they're not getting their food stamps? That's insane. I think all of those people should be cut off immediately. If you're threatening violence because Big Daddy government isn't giving you a handout because, look, I'm sorry, I don't work for your benefit. That just doesn't sit very well with me. I don't mind these programs, but if you're not going to be a little bit grateful about these programs, then look, I'm sorry. I don't want you to have it. I don't want to assist you. Once again, like I said, I've been paying into this, you know, my whole life, or ever since I've been working, right? And I don't mind it at all. I understand the food stamp program's been around for a long time. I understand, you know, Medicare, Medicaid, all these other programs, these welfare, you know, these benefit programs, you know, they've been around for a while. And look, I don't mind them, but if you're not going to be grateful about them, I definitely don't want you to have it. To be honest with you, I don't want to pay for that. And if you refuse to work and tell me that I work for you, No, I'm sorry. I'm going to advocate. I'm going to lobby Congress to have these programs destroyed outright because I don't need them. Absolutely don't need them. I wouldn't want them in the first place. I don't want no freaking handout from a government. None of that nonsense. I don't want to be handicapped. I'd rather be independent. I don't understand the mindset of wanting a handout from the government and then to be so entitled as to demand a handout from the government. I would be so embarrassed about that. I don't know how these people live with themselves. Making an entire TikTok video talking about Trump taking away my SNAP, blah, 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 blah. Like, what? Trump's not doing that. What are you talking about? That's Democrats that are doing that. They are the ones that are continually voting to keep the government shut down. These people are insane, y'all. The Trump administration has placed about 750,000 federal workers on furlough, and many more are currently working without pay, although their ability to claim back pay after the government reopens, a standard precedent under previous government shutdowns, appears uncertain. The CBO also anticipates that real GDP will be anywhere from 1 to 2 percentage points lower in the fourth quarter of 2025 than it would have been if the government remained open. And that kind of pisses me off right there because, Donald Trump was actually working that GDP back up pretty good. We had a pretty good number in the midway point of the year. And now that's going to be screwed. It's going to be outright screwed for the rest of the year. And now, once again, when we get these lower GDP numbers, because Democrats decided they wanted, emergency ACA subsidies for criminal aliens, health care for criminal aliens. What an absurd notion, y'all. Just an absurd notion. And now that, because they wanted that, they're going to complain about the GDP. Say, oh, look how bad the economy is. Once again, manufacturing a crisis and then using the fallout from that crisis to weaponizing that fallout essentially and bludgeon Republicans over the head. It's insane. The effects of the shutdown on the economy are uncertain. Those effects depend on decisions made by the administration throughout the shutdown, CBO Director Philip Swagel wrote in the report. Yeah, it's on the administration, depend on the decisions made. The economic impacts of the shutdown will also exacerbate when the federal government ceases disbursements of Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program benefits beginning November 1st, per the CBO. The Department of Agriculture, which administers the program in partnership with states, has decided not to tap emergency funds to keep food aid flowing amid the shutdown, a move being challenged by Democratic leaders of more than 24 states. While a resolution to reopen the government remains elusive, Senate Majority Leader John Thune told Politico on Wednesday that talks to end the shutdown have picked up. Yeah, he's supposed to be going to meet with Chuck Schumer. And, Chuck Schumer's polling numbers right now, his approval ratings or whatever are in the gutter. The Democrat Party, their approval ratings are in the gutter. They're like half of what Donald Trump's approval ratings are. And it's so funny to watch Democrats actually rail about Donald Trump's approval ratings when theirs are half of his. It's kind of a lot of the pot calling the kettle black and the pot actually being a rust bucket. It's weird, y'all. It really is weird. But I just wanted to get that, kind of get that news out there that, yeah, there's a lot of fallout to a government shutdown that you don't really think about. And that's just one of those aspects, folks. Like, a lot of people, they get out there and say, well, government's been shut down for 3 weeks and I haven't seen no difference. Well, it does affect a lot of things. You might not see much of a difference, but it does affect our economy. It does affect a whole lot of things. Like, once again, like I was talking about, if it goes on for too long, these agencies run out of their funds. And then you'll start seeing effects from this. Like a lot of low-income families are going to see the effects from this pretty soon if nothing happens. Of course, Trump promised that, the benefits are going to be there. So we'll see what happens, y'all. But I think that's all I got. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video all over the place if you could. That'd be great. And if you would, if you'd be so inclined, I'd appreciate if you'd click that join button, sign up, and become a member. It's the best way. I'd be happy. I'd be a kid in a candy store, for crying out loud. But y'all remember, folks, that God has a plan for everybody. And, when Jesus died on the cross, he took the punishment of our sin at that moment. He took that onto himself, to give us the freedom to understand and praise God and, understand that we can now have eternal life in heaven because of that. Folks, it's a great day to be a Christian, that's for sure. But like I said, y'all do all that for me, and y'all sorry, y'all try y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.